Hey gamers and other YouTubers, Jiren giving y'all the 2.0, and it's about time I come open with you all. I have me an extremely good memory, and I can remember anything off of TV, video games, and other YouTube videos with just like that. Sorry, I don't know how to snap. So I might as well show you all this video to give you all a demonstration of how good my memory as well as quoting skills are. You all may remember this. For over 20 years, Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto series have been taking us to the mean streets of organized crime, mayhem, and of course, stealing cars. Being as it's one of our most suggestive videos ever, we here at Suggestive Gaming figured it would be a good idea to take a look back at the story of the various universes the Grand Theft Auto series has visited. Given that we have so much to cover, we're going to split this YouTube video into two parts. Today we're going to cover the 3D universe containing all of the titles after GTA 2, but before GTA 4. Then in part 2, we'll cover the rest. Okay, now without further ado, this is what you need to know about the Grand Theft Auto games, part 1. Our story begins in Vice City in the year 1984, where we meet U.S. Army Corporal Victor Vance. Working to provide for his brothers, Pete, who suffers from asthma, and Lance, who's a lazy underachiever. Vic's supervisor, Sergeant Jerry Martinez, works on the side smuggling drugs, and uses his influence with Vic to recruit him into the business, which Vic morally objects to but reluctantly joins. Through the drug business, Vic meets Phil Cassidy, a self-proclaimed war veteran and manic arms dealer. After a drug deal gone wrong, Martinez grows frustrated with Vic and sends him to retrieve a girl named Mary from a nearby party. After returning with her, Vic is met by a master sergeant who confronts him about a stash of marijuana found under his bed, as well as the woman he has brought back to the base, who is revealed to be a prostitute. Set up by Martinez, these events cause Vic to be dishonorably discharged from the army and thrown out onto the streets. Shortly after, Vic once again hears from Phil, who offers him some work and a place to stay. After some jobs together, Phil introduces Vic to his brother-in-law, Marty J. Williams, who runs the Trailer Park Mafia, a small crime ring. After witnessing Marty's abusive behavior towards his wife, Louise, Vic develops a relationship with her, sending Marty into a jealous rage. Marty kidnaps his wife, but Vic is able to track them down and kill Marty, taking over the Trailer Park Mafia in turn, which he renames the Vance crime family. After hearing the news, Vic's brother Lance flies into the city and quickly begins working to eliminate and overtake the competing crime organizations. During this endeavor, Vic and Lance discover that a local drug dealer, Brian Forbes, is actually an undercover DEA agent who runs away with their money. They're able to catch and capture him, but after he leads him into several traps and an attempted escape, Vic is forced to kill him. Later, the Vance brothers attempt to steal a drug shipment believed to be under Martinez's supervision, but they're kidnapped by Armando and Diego Mendez, two brothers in charge of a powerful cartel that actually own the shipment. Lance lies convinces them that it was Martinez, actually a DEA agent, that stole the drugs. To provide proof, Vic takes photos of Martinez with a DEA agent and combines Forbes' files with Martinez's. Now having their trust, the Mendez brothers give Vic and Lance some work, including jobs at filmmaker Rennie Vasselmeyer, manager Billy Micklethwaite, and even pop star Phil Collins. Through Rennie, Vic meets Ricardo Diaz, drug baron and competitor to the Mendez bros. After Martinez tips off the Mendez cartel of this betrayal, Lance and Vic are kidnapped and nearly escape from captivity before planning their revenge. With Diaz's help, Vic destroys the Mendez's safe, eliminating their bankroll and sending them into bankruptcy. As revenge, the Mendez cartel kidnapped Louise. Lance is also captured and Vic is forced to go to their mansion where he fights and eventually kills Armando. He's able to find Lance and Louise, but Louise dies from the beating she was given. Yeah. Sorry. Diaz once again helps Vic track down Diego and Martinez, and after stealing a chopper from his former station, he storms the Mendez's fortress and lands on the roof to face Martinez and Diego. And after another battle, Vic is able to kill them. Shortly after, Lance arrives to retrieve Vic, and the brothers agree to stay out of the drug business before leaving Vice City to return to Pete with money for his asthma medication. Ugh, don't you just hate it when you get the sniffles? Ugh. 2 years later, in 1986, Tommy Vercetti is released from jail after a 15-year sentence in Liberty City. Tommy, who was sentenced for life, was sprung after his boss, Sonny Forelli, pulled some favors. Impressed by his loyalty throughout his sentence, Sonny entrusts Tommy with expanding their drug trade to Vice City. Once they arrive at the city, Tommy and his bodyguards are met by Ken Rosenberg, a crooked lawyer who is tasked with driving them to the docks to perform a cocaine deal with the Vance brothers, now back in the drug business. Once they arrive at the docks. However, the deal is ambushed and Victor is killed along with Tommy's bodyguards. The drugs and money was stolen as well. Tommy and Rosenberg were able to escape, but Tommy informs Sonny of the failed deal. Sonny, upset with Tommy, threatens him, but ultimately gives him a chance to correct the situation. Rosenberg then introduces Tommy to a retired colonel, Juan Cortez, who helps set up the deal. Feeling sympathy, Cortez agrees to help Tommy, and through Cortez he meets several figures in the Vice City drug trade, mainly Ricardo Diaz, the largest kingpin. Tommy eventually finds Leo Teal, one of the hired arms involved in the ambush, and kills him after a confrontation. Lance Vance also survived the ambush and confronts Tommy, but the two reach a common ground and form an alliance to get their money and drugs back. After Lance and Tommy watch over a deal between Diaz's gang and the Cubans, they're ambushed by a group of Haitians trying to intercept the deal. After Lance and Tommy thwart their attempt, they gain Diaz's trust, who hires the two on for permanent protection. During their work, however, Lance discovers there was in fact Diaz who set up the ambush and stole their drugs. Tommy decides that the pair should work further to gain Diaz's trust before they strike, but Lance, too eager to avenge his brother's death, attempts to kill him on his own. He fails, however, and is captured by Diaz's crew. Tommy races to rescue Lance, and with their cover now blown, the two then drive to Diaz's mansion, where they engage in a standoff with his men. After defeating all of them, the pair finally confront and kill Ricardo Diaz, taking over his business in the aftermath. Tommy then works to control more areas of the Vice City crime underbelly, building up his crime empire to even higher levels. Sonny catches wind of this and becomes enraged at Tommy going independent and betraying him. He sends some of his men to collect from Tommy's assets, but Tommy kills them and decides to leave the family. After counterfeiting some money to give to Sonny to get him off his back, Tommy waits at his mansion where Sonny arrives. Tommy attempts to give him the money, but Sonny reveals that it was he who actually set up Tommy to get arrested 15 years ago. Lance also reveals that he was the one who tipped Sonny off after feeling underappreciated by Tommy. Tommy chases Lance and kills him for his betrayal, then fights his way through Sonny's men, eventually killing them once and for all. In the wake of the violence, a shocked Rosenberg arrives and Tommy appoints him his right-hand man, and the two prepare to rule Vice City unopposed. Sorry, but I don't have a computer or the editing magic to show you any footage of what I'm quoting. But since I told you it's the Grand Theft Auto games, you already know. Six years later, in 1992, Carl C.J. Johnson receives a phone call in Liberty City from his brother and former gang member Sean, also known as Sweet. Sweet, the leader of the Grove Street Families gang, was the victim of an attempted drive-by assassination by a rival gang, the Ballers. However, the assassination failed, and instead of hitting Sweet, they hit their mother Beverly instead, mortally wounding her. Carl flies back to Los Santos, his hometown in the west coast state of San Andreas, and takes a taxi back to his mom's house. However, on the way, he is arrested by officers Frank Tenpenny, Eddie Polanski, and Jimmy Hernandez of a corrupt gang-stomping police unit. Tenpenny informs Carl of the murder of another officer, Ralph Pendlebury, and threatens to frame him with the murder weapon if he doesn't cooperate with them when they need him. After being released by Tenpenny, CJ makes his way to his mom's funeral to reunite with Sweet and her sister Kendall. After he hears discussion about CJ abandoning Los Santos and the gang, CJ agrees to stay and help rebuild the Grove Street families and get their revenge on the Ballers. The Johnson brothers, along with their friends and gang mates Big Smoke, Ryder, and OG Loke, work to reunite the gang and reclaim their turf from their rivals. CJ also meets Kendall's boyfriend, Cesar Villalpando, leader of the Hispanic gang Valles Las Aztecas, and despite CJ and Sweet's initial disapproval, the two become friends and allies. Throughout CJ's work to rebuild the families, Tenpenny frequently reappears for tasking CJ with various corrupt activities on behalf of the police. After building up Grove Street, Sweet plans a final battle with the Ballers. Before the fight, CJ gets a call from Caesar, and the two see Tenpenny and the Ballers working to hide the car used in his mom's death. The CJ's surprise also helping them are Big Smoke and Ryder, who sold out to the Ballers and Tenpenny and arranged the shooting. Before CJ can warn Sweet, however, the Ballers ambush him and leave him incapacitated. After a battle with the Ballers, shortly after, Tenpenny arrives and arrests the Johnson brothers. With the Grove Street family's leadership dismantled, Big Smoke, Ryder, and the Ballers take over Los Santos under Tenpenny's supervision and protection, flooding it with crack. So seeing some use in CJ, Tenpenny releases him and takes him to Whetstone County, warning him not to seek vengeance on his former gangmates or seek for the consequences in jail. While looking for Tenpenny, CJ meets a new cast of characters, including a hippie marijuana grower named The Truth, a triad leader named Woozy Moo, and Caesar's cousin Catalina, who CJ commits several small-scale heists with. After CJ beats Catalina's new boyfriend Claude in a street race, he obtains a deed to a garage in San Fierro. Upset about the loss, Claude and Catalina leave San Andreas to make their way to Liberty City. After Carl and The Truth are forced to torch his marijuana field after the police find it, they take the remaining crop to CJ's new garage. The CJ's to stay in the garage is actually in need of several repairs, and with some help from Kendall, the three are able to rebuild it into an operating chop shop. While in San Fierro, CJ and Caesar discover that Ryder is working with the Loco Syndicate, the crime organization providing the ballers with their drugs. CJ infiltrates the organization to gain their trust before killing their leaders along with Ryder with the help of Caesar and Woozy. After destroying the Loco's crack factory with a car bomb, CJ receives a call from an unknown caller informing him to meet at his ranch for information on Sweet. CJ meets the caller to find that it is Mike Torino, an undercover government agent who is posing as one of the leaders of the Loco Syndicate, who CJ mistakenly thought that he killed. Torino informs CJ that Sweet is safe in a prison upstate, and he reveals to CJ that the police officer who got killed when he arrived in San Andreas, Ralph Pendlebury, was actually killed by the hands of Tenpenny. He also tells CJ that if he helps him, he'll see that Sweet is released from jail. Shortly after, CJ gets a call from Woozy informing him that he now owns a casino in Las Venturas, which CJ goes to visit. There, Woozy enlists him to help rob a rival casino, Caligula's, which is run by the Italian mob. Once again planning to infiltrate, CJ gains the trust of mob boss Salvatore Leone, while he and Woozy plan the robbery. After Robert set up an execution, CJ and Woozy successfully rob Caligula's, putting it out of business and sending Salvatore back to Liberty City. Man, sometimes talking this fast takes up a lot of breath. During that time, CJ also meets a rapper named Mad Dog after he steals a book of his rhymes for OG Woke. After this, Mad Dog was ordered to an attempted suicide, which CJ saves him from, sparking a friendship and business partnership between the two. Soon after, Tenpenny discovers that Hernandez had turned on them and gone informant, and he tasks his other officer, Pulaski, with killing him, along with CJ, to prevent Tenpenny's arrest. During a meeting with CJ, Tenpenny attacks Hernandez with a shovel, knocking him out while leaving Pulaski with the two. Pulaski tells CJ to dig his own grave, but meanwhile, Hernandez regains consciousness and attacks Pulaski, but he's able to resist and shoot Hernandez, killing him. Pulaski tries to run, but CJ gives chase, catches him, and kills him once and for all. Torino then asks for one final favor from CJ, and afterwards he sticks to his word and releases Sweet. Sweet is not happy with CJ forgetting about Grove Street, however, and the two fight to take back their territory to reestablish the families. Afterwards, Tenpenny is arrested and tried for his crimes, but all charges are ultimately dropped due to lack of evidence. This prompts unrest and eventually full-out riots in the city. CJ then helps Caesar regain his gang's territory, and now at full strength, they follow tips Sweet received the Big Smoke's whereabouts at a crack house in the city. There, CJ fights to the top floor of the building, where he confronts and eventually engages Smoke in a gunfight. Afterwards, Smoke confesses his betrayal and his motivation for power and money before succumbing to his wounds and dying. Suddenly, Tenpenny arrives and steals Smoke's money with the intention of using it to flee from San Andreas. He escapes in a fire truck, but CJ and Sweet follow him and eventually run him off a bridge onto the center of Grove Street. There, Tenpenny exits the truck and claims that he finally cleaned up the streets before dying from his injuries. Afterwards, CJ, Sweet, Caesar, and Kendall meet at the Johnson household to celebrate their victory and discuss their futures. Shortly after, Mad Dog arrives with his new lawyer, Ken Rosenberg, and displays his gold record. Outside, the riots end in Los Santos due to Tenpenny's death, and justice is finally fulfilled in San Andreas. 2 years later, in 1998, we once again find Salvatore Leone running the mob, now back in Liberty City. His employee, Tony Cipriani, or Cipriani, as some people like to call it, arrives from Italy, where he was forced to flee to after an assassination order by Sal. Tony's introduced to another member of the family, Vinny Chili, who rose up the ranks during his absence. Vinny is assigned to get Tony set up with an apartment plus a job, but Tony soon realizes that Vinny set up the job to get Tony caught by the police. Vinny later apologizes for this and asks to meet up with him. This turns out to be another trap, however, as Vinny wants Tony's place in the Leone crime family. Tony thwarts the ambush and kills Vinny, returning to work for Sal. Sal then tasks Tony with killing the mayor, who's planning on taking him down. Tony does this and becomes a made man in the Leone crime family. Tony then begins working with Donald Love, a new mayoral candidate that the Leones have in their pocket. Love loses, however, due to his obvious ties with the mob. Shortly after, Paulie Syndico, leader of rival family, has the new mayor Michael Donovan arrest Sal, leaving Tony to kill Paulie. Sal's released on bail, and he and Tony realize that Massimo Torini, a high-ranking member of the Sicilian Mafia, is orchestrating a war between the various crime families. Torino has also mentioned that he has kidnapped the new mayor to make sure he doesn't drop the charges on Sal. Sal and Tony chase Torini down and kill him, rescuing the mayor and putting him in the Leone's debt. Sal demands protection from the new mayor, who reluctantly agrees thanks to some intimidation from Tony. Afterwards, we see Sal's uncle, who reveals that he was behind Torino's attempt to take over Liberty City. However, he admits defeat and leaves to return to Sicily in peace, leaving Salvatore with simply a warning that every dog has his day. 2 years later, at the turn of the new millennium, we find a small-time criminal named Mike, working with his partner Vinny for the Mafia to gain funds to leave Liberty City. Before they gain enough money to leave, however, Vinny's killed in a car bomb explosion, burning up all of their cash. Mike decides to stay in the city and enact revenge, and sets out to find who killed his partner. Sorry if I'm speaking too fast, and if you all can't understand clearly. Alright, let's continue. Mike starts with local explosion maker 8-Ball, who eventually leads him to a criminally connected bartender named Johnny. After doing a couple of jobs for Johnny, Mike returns to his bar to find a gun down. Mike follows the assailants, members of the Uptown Yardies gang, to Staten Island. There, Mike finds Yardies leader, King Courtney, who denies any involvement in the shooting, instead explaining that he has an interest in the actual perpetrators since Johnny owed them money. Courtney tells Mike that the mastermind behind everything is Colombian cartel leader Cisco. However, when Mike confronts Cisco, it becomes quickly apparent that Courtney was simply using him. Cisco promises to find out who is behind everything, and Mike works for him before catching the attention of Asuka Kassen of the Yakuza, who sends Mike to rescue her niece Yuma, who is actually kidnapped by Mike unbeknownst to her during his work for Cisco. After returning, Asuka vows to help out Mike as well, leaving him to work for the two rival gangs simultaneously. Eventually, Mike finds out that Cisco was assassinated, and he gives chase to the escaping killer. Mike runs the assailant's car off the road, and to his surprise, the person who exits the car is none other than Vinny, still very much alive. Vinny reveals that he faked his own death in order to get his fair share of their money, but ended up following Mike around the city afterwards to make sure he never learned the truth. A shootout between Mike, Vinny, and his bodyguards ensues, but Mike emerges victorious. Vinny pleads for his life and warns Mike that by killing him and taking the money, he'll become a target of every criminal in the city. Mike ignores the warning, however, and kills Vinny once and for all. Mike meets back up with 8-Ball, but shortly after the Colombians arrive, presuming Mike had killed Cisco. Mike fights them off, but the police arrive and arrest 8-Ball. Mike is able to escape and find Cisco's successor, informing him the truth behind Cisco's death. It is later learned that King Courtney put a hit out on Mike to get his money. Mike, with help from Asuka and the Yakuza, is able to make his way to the Yardies hideout and kill Courtney. The police arrive once again, but Mike is able to escape to Cisco's plane, where he departs from Liberty City, finally fulfilling his goal. A year later, in 2001, we finally see Claude and Catalina once again, robbing a bank in Liberty City. After the robbery, however, Catalina turns on Claude, stating that she doesn't need him anymore. She shoots Claude and their other partner, then leaves with Miguel, the getaway driver. Claude survives the gunshot and he is arrested. However, while he's being sent to jail in a police convoy, the Colombian cartel blows up the bridge they're traveling on. The cartel kidnaps an old Asian gentleman from the convoy before leaving. Claude, along with fellow inmate 8-Ball, were able to escape captivity during the commotion. 8-Ball introduces Claude to the Leone crime family, including Salvatore and Tony. Claude works to help the Mafia fight the Colombians now led by Catalina and Miguel, who's eventually double-crossed by Sal, who attempts to kill him before he's informed at the last second by Sal's wife, Maria. Claude meets with Maria, who informs him that she told Sal they were having an affair in an attempt to make him jealous. She then introduces him to her friend, Asuka Kassen. To gain the Yakuza's trust, Claude is tasked with assassinating Sal. Claude succeeds in killing Sal, sparking a rivalry with the remaining Leone crime family. With his new connections, Claude meets Asuka's brother Kenji and a crooked cop named Ray Machowski. Ray introduces Claude to Donald Love, now a billionaire real estate and media mogul, and Claude begins to work for him. Claude rescues the old Asian gentleman the Colombian cartel kidnapped earlier and were holding for ransom, and returns him to Love. Later, Love has Claude spark a gang war between the cartel and the Yakuza in order to lower the real estate value of the city. He does this by running over Kenji with a cartel car, killing him and enraging Asuka. Claude makes his way to the cartel's construction site, finding Catalina and Miguel hands over a package for love after feeling cornered. Catalina shoots Miguel in the back and escapes before Asuka arrives. Still believing that the cartel is responsible for her brother's death, she begins to torture Miguel for information as Claude leaves to deliver the package to Love. After providing a distraction for him, Claude returns to Love's penthouse to discover that he and the elderly Asian man have disappeared, seemingly leaving Liberty City for good. Claude returns to the construction site to find Asuka and Miguel dead, with a note from Catalina stating that she has kidnapped Maria for a ransom that Claude must deliver to the cartel's mansion. Upon arriving at the mansion, however, Claude is ambushed and Catalina takes Maria in a helicopter to the nearby dam. Claude survives the ambush and follows them there, shooting down the helicopter and finally killing Catalina. Claude then leaves the dam with Maria, and after the screen fades, the last thing we hear is a gunshot, silencing Maria and finally bringing a sudden end to our story. This is where we leave the GTA 3D universe, as we look forward to a new generation of gaming and Grand Theft Auto. Hey guys, thank you all for watching. Remember, we have a part 2 coming soon, and yada yada yada. Don't rather not do the ending. So after the whole nose and catching my breath, that's it. I just recited Suggestive Gaming's Grand Theft Auto Part 1 video of the 3D Grand Theft Auto video games. Here's hoping I get a lot of views for this and maybe something else. Thanks for watching if this caught your eye or blew your mind. But again, got all of that down with just one watch of the video. Thank you for watching. If anyone does watch this, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will continue showing off some more gaming videos. I'll see you on the next one. Have a righteous day or night. Stay safe and keep on gaming. Peace out, people.